The NFL Combine is upon us, and the NFL Draft is just 2 months away. Up next, I'm going to give you two key positions that the Giants need to improve on and what players can help them improve. Stay right there. What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Tommy's Takes. As always, I'm your host, Tommy G. You could have been anywhere in this wide world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate that. Please hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way to helping us grow this channel. Like, comment, turn notifications on. You could also check me out on the other platform, Twitter, TommyG105. Check out my Giants Country team, whether you like interviews, podcasts, articles, tweets. If it's fire Giants content, Giants Country got it. Make sure you hit up the team. Let's get right into it. The NFL Combine is upon us. The draft is a little over 2 months away. This is the most critical time of year for teams to meet, greet, and work out some of these draft prospects. And while the Giants surprised virtually everybody in 2022, coming within one game of the NFC Championship, that divisional game showed the Giants still need some roster work in multiple positions. But that's what this time of year is for, right? You want to compete with the elite NFL teams, you have to fix the roster. Can't have gaping holes, right? And the Giants have a couple. Today, I'm going to go through two of those gaping holes. I'm going to give you one top prospect, and then I'm going to give you another sleeper. And basically, how the Giants can start turning this roster around to compete with the Philadelphia Eagles, the Kansas City Chiefs, because the Giants are making good progress. Obviously, last year was amazing, but you also had softer schedule creeping up on teams for the early to mid part of the year, and you'll have a harder schedule next season thanks to the playoff berth. But listen, anything could happen. All it takes is a couple tweaks here and there, and you're right up there with those teams because they do have the proper leadership in place. Obviously, we'll see what happens with some of the in-house free agents. But for now, this video is draft prospects. So, first position we're going to get into, linebacker. Whew, some serious struggles in 2022 at the linebacker position for the Giants. You had Blake Martinez cut, a surprise cut, essentially right before the season started. Jalen Smith gets picked up early in the season. Micah McFadden, as a rookie, got a bunch of snaps. You picked up Landon Collins later in the season to play some linebacker. Whatever it was, did not work. New York had one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. A lot of that fell on that linebacking core. They also struggled in coverage. So, is this the year the New York Giants finally take a linebacker in the first round? Last first-round linebacker drafted by the New York Giants, 1981, when they took Carl Banks with the number 3 overall pick. Wow. And while this is generally viewed as, I would say, a weak linebacker class overall, still got some studs out there. And, the question really becomes, how vital do Joe Shane, Brian Dable, Wink Martindale view the middle linebacker position? And it's going to be specifically middle linebacker. I think the Giants are okay with outside linebackers. Going to go middle. So, because of that reason, while I did ponder putting Trenton Simpson picked in the first round by the Giants, I do believe he'll be the first linebacker off the board. He's more of a weak side linebacker, coverage linebacker, leaves a little bit something to be desired against the run. Missed 13.3% of his career tackles. Can't have that at middle linebacker. And Giants need a run-stuffing linebacker. Listen, the NFL is an athletic league at the linebacker position. I get it. But if you have a Dexter Lawrence right there at zero tech defensive tackle, you need somebody behind him that can clean it up. Giants gave up almost 600 yards combined rushing to the Philadelphia Eagles in the 2 games the starters actually played. And they essentially got ran out of the building at the link in the divisional playoff game. So, if the Giants do go linebacker, let's say first round, maybe early second, maybe some movement, I'm leaning towards Jack Campbell. Awesome linebacker out of Iowa. Phenomenal grades. I mean, if you look at this guy's grades, unbelievable. Elite physical tools. He was the most assignment disciplined linebacker in the country last year, which I found interesting. He had a 91.5 PFF grade, 86.2 versus the run, and 93 in coverage. That's a linebacker that's smart. That's a linebacker that knows his assignments. That's a linebacker that could be a leader on a defensive football field. That's really unbelievable. And that's what the Giants need. He's a surefire, violent wrap-up tackler, side-to-side, sideline range, great ability to stay disciplined on outside runs and containing runners. You saw the Giants struggle with that mightily last season, especially when they played Jalen Hurts. It seemed like every RPO he just took right off onto the sideline and was wide open. So Campbell does a great job there. Solid closing speed, reacts well to draw plays, misdirections, reverses, which is also something the Giants struggled with. Very good inside blitzer. Explosive when getting up the A gap, B gap, wherever you send him. Only, I would say, drawback with Campbell is a little bit slower side. Doesn't have that great burst. Sometimes slow to actually read which direction the run is going to. Covering speed tight ends and speed running backs is not going to be Campbell's deal. Just not going to happen. But I think he fits a need. I think when you look at this Giants defense, need to stop the run. I need to be physical at the point of attack. That's what you did not see last season with Jalen Smith and Micah McFadden and Landon Collins, whoever was in there. There was really no physicality at the point of attack, letting the blockers get into their pads, get into their shoulders, basically bullying them around. And if you select Jack Campbell out of Iowa, you're not going to have that issue. This guy is stout, big, physical. Almost reminisce of those old school linebackers, whether, you're looking at the old school Bears linebackers, right? Where you're looking at Singletary. Doesn't matter whose name you throw out there, Lambert from whoever it is, Campbell reminds you of that a lot. Just has that stout, fearsome look to him. Would fit perfectly on his defense. Line him up right at middle linebacker and get to it. Only question is, when it comes to Campbell, is where he will be picked at, right? Does he sneak into the first round? Is he the first linebacker to come off the board, right? Nobody knows at this point. Haven't even got to the combine yet, but there's a possibility that, maybe Simpson doesn't go first, right? Maybe it's Campbell that goes first. It's going to be a toss-up. I think Simpson goes first. I think Campbell goes in the second round. The Giants could snag him in that round, would fill a huge hole. But if they don't, I do have a sleeper. Well, sort of a sleeper. Noah Sewell, brother of the Lions tackle, Penny Sewell, came into the season with some flair. Was looking like he might be a first-round pick. I think he slid back a little bit. I think he's going to be a little bit more of a day 2 pick now. But tremendous value for the team that drafts him. 6'2", 253. Has great size and length, filled out frame, NFL frame. Plays with speed and explosiveness. Excellent effort. This guy's all effort, all pursuit. Never gives up on a play. Takes good angles to the football, which is always critical in the NFL when you're going against that top-end speed. And the 2022 Giants, again, struggled with that. Struggled with angles. Struggled with getting to the sidelines. Well, if you get Sewell later in the second, third round, whatever he might be, again, that fills that hole, that immediate hole. And if you don't go in free agency and sign a linebacker for a ton of money, which you also could do, this would be a good fit right here. I think he fits in perfectly in the Wink Martindale defense. He could stack and shed with the best of them. I mean, that's one thing that stood out to me on tape. His stack and shed is just remarkable. He gets blockers off him in an instant. That's a positive. Adequate zone dropper, though I think he will struggle sometimes in coverage. We're looking at more of a traditional middle linebacker here. Probably don't want to have him on the field on passing downs. Struggles in man coverage. Tackles a little high for my liking. Instead of running through contact, he was a little bit too high. And, the other thing I thought when I watched him on film was his eyes stay in the backfield too long. He needs to read and react a little bit quicker. You can't keep your eyes in the backfield too long because in the NFL, it takes a fragment of a second for you to be cooked. But I think Sewell could be a big pick for the Giants in the later rounds. If you could score him third or fourth round, that's a huge win. I don't know if he'll slide that far because he is a talented player. But if he does, look for the Giants to take him. Now, the next biggest need I have on my board, wide receiver. Giants struggled at the wide receiver position immensely in 2022. As a matter of fact, their best wide receiver last season wasn't even on the team at midseason in Isaiah Hodgins. So that tells you all you need to know. Kenny Golladay, super unproductive. He's going to be out of here. Sterling Shepard, he was gone before midseason with an injury. He's probably not coming back, right? Darius Slayton, who did have a good productive season, Not a number one or a number two receiver, even though he did do a really good job. Giants need that number one receiver that they've been lusting after since they traded Odell Beckham in 2019. Well, come April, I think they're going to find their guy. Jackson Smith-Njigba. And this is an interesting prospect, and I'll tell you why. A bit complicated when it comes to Njigba. Last season, had hamstring injuries, and now wait. I know Giants fans are going to hear a wide receiver hamstring injury. We're out of here. Give me a second. Struggled last season with hamstring injuries. Right when he was going to come back, seemed like he made a business decision to sit out the bowl game and get ready for the draft. But boy, oh boy, when you watched Njigba in 2021, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better wide receiver in college football. Holding 95 passes for 1,606 yards, including setting a Rose Bowl record. Check this out. It set a Rose Bowl record. 347 yards on 15 catches. Yes, people are going to say he had a ton of talent around him. He benefited from the talent. I get it. I hear it. This guy's the real deal. Excellent route runner, great hands, ideal body control, which you want from a slot receiver, which unfortunately he's going to be the slot receiver primarily. Maybe you have a Colin Johnson finally come back healthy. You could line him up at the X. But Njigba in the slot is devastating. He can run every route on the route tree, elusive, does lack top-end speed, which is a problem, but he does make up for it with the route running, with the quickness, with the elusiveness. But if you're going to draft him, you do have to have a plan for X receiver. I do think that could be Colin Johnson at the end of the day. But Njigba is just a super, super talented wide receiver. When you watched him in 2021, he was looking like a top 5, top 10 pick, in all honesty. Did have the injuries last year that knocked him. But maybe that plays into the Giants' hands. Maybe you get some surprise and value with him. If he's there at 25, I think you jump on that pick. Then you focus on linebacker possibly in the second round. All this, of course, based on who gets signed in free agency. If the Giants make some moves, I don't think the Giants will be too crazy with free agency. I know they're fourth in cap space. Maybe they make one splash move. There are some good free agent linebackers out there, but I really think Njigba is a stud. I think he's going to be dominant at the NFL level. Like I said, route running, quickness, twitchy, good solid hands, and he showed the production in college at a top-end college in Ohio State. But if you don't want to take a receiver that high, if you go linebacker in the first round, do have a sleeper pick. Tyler Scott, Cincinnati. When you want to talk about top-end speed, and listen, if the Giants decide to let Darius Slayton walk, he gets a big bag from another team. You have a gaping hole when it comes to top-end speed for this Giants receiving core. Tyler Scott has that and more. Runs a 4.29 40, 40-inch vertical, an 11-inch broad jump. And this guy consistently, every game in his college career, took the top off the defense. Last season, he had 55 catches, 900 yards, 5 TDs. But you are really drafting Scott for his potential. You're not drafting him based off his production. Like I said, could take the top off of defense. Former running back. So naturally, he's going to be good with the catch and run, making defenders miss in space. That's huge. That's something also the Giants haven't had for a long time. I would say decent size at 5'11". The interesting thing with Scott is even though he doesn't have prototypical size, he did line up occasionally at the X receiver position, and he did play well. So that's something to keep an eye on with Scott too. I think he'll be a late day 2 pick, so you can snag him with some value. Reliable hands, can make catches in traffic, adjust his body well. I would say the knocks on him, average catch radius, non-factor as a blocker, which is tough, something he's going to have to work on, and allows the ball to get into his chest rather than him catch the ball with his hands. Does let it get into his shoulder pads and his chest sometimes, but I think that would be a great sleeper pick. But no matter who the Giants draft, you keep it locked. Tommy's Takes will have the coverage. We're going to dig into more prospects, more needs. Combine is coming up, draft in a couple of months, so you keep it locked right here for your draft coverage. Hit that subscribe button, like, throw me some comments. Love engaging with you guys and gals. Check out my Giants Country team. Check me out on Twitter at TommyG105. We're going to be making it hot all off season long. But for now, peace.